leave it open then. Them drums go, mate. Like going to war. You know what I mean? Are we on? We are. Oh dear. Okay. And here's the drums. Got to give credit to Alex McCann and Dalton Joseph because they created this. So sending out love to them, you know? The anthem. The anthem. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Godric Joseph joining.
Ah, good. Yes, Uncle. Good to see you, man. Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, we'll go to
Hear them drums? Yeah. This comes out of traditional music called tambon. Caribbean, Tobago.
Deborah said hello, by the way.
Yeah. Hello. Do that thing. Do that thing. Oh. You're like, woo! Get me in the mood there. Just tell me when you're ready, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's 8 o'clock.
Alright, it's 8 o'clock. Let's fire up then. We've got to stop that music then. Alright? Okay, good. Alright? You going to turn that off, yeah? The music?
Yes.
It's not going to go on in the background, is it?
No,
Good.
it's fine.
Okay, so let's fire up. Where we are. Good evening. Alright. So, you guys are directing it. You tell me what I've got to do.
Well,
Alright?
let's see if they have any questions first.
Anything set? We had some questions that were sent in as well, didn't we? So we
Yeah, we had some questions.
We can start with some of them. Okay, Vonley Joseph, my apologies for not coming on every week. But I think the most appropriate way is every month. I'd get very, very busy. And I think every week was a bit overstretching it, to be honest with you. But I'd like to think that we can build it up to every week. So at some stage, that's what I'm going to do. But for the moment, we're going to do it on a once a month, I believe, till the end of the year. Because my diary gets busy this time towards the end of the year. So we'll work it. But if I can do the extras, believe you me, I will. So, where are we at? What's the first question?
Alright, so we had some questions basically that came by email.
Yeah.
So the first one is, how much power do my customers have?
Okay, in terms of power, customers and power. Okay. Alright. Did they define what industry?
Not exactly.
Okay, no problem. That's a generic thing. Alright. Well, they always say customer is king. But customer is king to a point. I mean, you can imagine if a customer's being extremely rude to you, would they be king? But at the same time, it would be down to you and how you deal with that situation. So, the customer is the one that drives your business. The customer is the one that's going to put money into the business. But at the same time, it needs to be a reciprocal. If there's no reciprocal behaviour going on, it could be a difficult challenge. So you'll find in terms of power, yes, customers do have a lot of say within the business, but they don't actually run the business. So it's good in terms of if you're laying out feedback and you're ensuring that you're getting the relevant information from those customers to tailor your business to suit their needs. Because obviously, if you're running a business and you're going east and your customers are going west, there's not going to be any balance there, and you're not bridging in terms of relationship. So what you really would want to do is tap in to your customers, into their mindset, and find out what's going on. And ways to do that is you can be doing it through observation. You can do it through feedback forms. You can do it through analysis, trends, patterns. There's so many different ways, but the way that I prefer to do it is to speak to them directly and run either questionnaires with them or have a set feedback for them in terms of surveys where they can answer relevant questions. Prior to running that questionnaire or that survey, you may want to speak to them first so you can tailor the questions to their needs. And then you're able to really gather appropriate information, because it's no sense just putting together a questionnaire and it's not relevant. It needs to be relevant to the business that you're doing and obviously towards the customer's needs. Another way of doing it is if you have a complaints register. Look at your complaints register and work from the complaints. Tailor your questions around the complaints. You should always have a complaints policy. If you're in business, always have a complaints policy. Most people run away from complaints, but complaints are very good because complaints tell you where you're at. Okay? Yes. Oh, thank you very much. I never thought of that, but yeah, thanks, Jan. All right, good to see you, mate. He's just brought that up for me. Oh dear, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I was just thinking about March and Sil the other day, years back. We were about 11 years old, so it's good to know that we're still in touch. And good history, mate. You keep your chin up, yeah? Keep going good. But yeah, that's the objective. So, you know, in terms of power base, customers, yeah, they're king to a point, like I said. But it's like any king or queen, right? Someone's got to clean their shoes. Someone's got to put them on top, put them on the throne. If there's no one to change their clothes, no one to clean their shoes, no one to be the muckers, shall we say, then they're not going to be a king or queen, are they? They can't be a king or queen on their own. So the customer needs you to be king, right? That's the objective, right? So depending on what the business is, like I said, but you should always seek to get really good information from your clients, because if you can get the information, especially the complaints, you're going to be on point. Simple as that, all right? Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it very, very simple, and you'll find that you'll step up as you go along. But like I said, complaints is good. Never think complaints is not good, because it's giving you feedback on your business, and then you're able to raise the quality within your business. And that's where you want to be. I hope that answers the question.
Alright,
yeah.
So I hope the fans, I mean, I'm going to send them the video after so they can watch it.
No worries, that's understandable, yeah. We'll be sending out a video after as well, because we film it, because the quality of the podcast sometimes on the Facebook Understand is not up to the spec we like. So we film it and then we send it out afterwards. So you'll be getting that as well. Yeah. So the objective of the session, as we well know, we're here to answer questions on what issues that individuals are having in terms of running their business, and the headaches and stresses. And why it's come about, the podcast, is because, you know, I see a lot of people, I get a lot of people contacting me all the time. Strange enough, a lot of them haven't come onto the podcast, so that's quite interesting. And yeah, I thought, well, it's starting to pull me away from certain things that I'm doing. So I thought, let's how can we get this right where I can get to a certain audience and, you know, give back. So that's really what I'm doing by giving back. So now when they phone, I tell them, right, come into the podcast. Makes life a lot easier. It's a lot more streamlined. So that's what's brought this about. So we're going to keep it running. Not every week, like I said before. My apology on that, but it'll be every month for the moment. And God willing, in the new year, we'll roll it out to every week. You know, that's the objective. Yeah. Any more questions?
Alright, so the next, I mean, we have a few more. So the next question, I mean, we've asked how much power do their customers have. So what about the suppliers? How much power do they have?
The suppliers, all right. Well, suppliers are very much customers as well. They're just external customers. When you look at it within the supply chain, you know, they're an external customer, and within that, the chain of what you're operating in. For example, let's say that you're doing, I don't know, say flowers. A lot of flowers coming from Holland, right? And then you've got to go down to New Covent Garden to get them, which means you've got to be up the early part of the morning. And it won't just be you going there; it'll be several other people going there. So it pays to know times, dates, places, and so on, especially in terms of suppliers, what their systems and processes are, so you can tap in, especially if you're purchasing from the supplier. But the supply chain also has their supply chain, so it's really getting to understand what their supply chain is, and then working it from there, and understanding the logistics within that supply chain, because that helps. And then you can then position yourself accordingly in terms of where you are in that supply chain, so you get to understand it, especially when it comes into pricing and things like that and so on. You can get to really see your positioning, and by understanding your positioning, then you're able to really distribute whatever you're doing or retail what you're doing in the right way. All right? And if you need to grow, obviously, whether you're going backward integration, which is into your supply chain, or forward integration, which is into your customer base, you have a clear understanding of your environment and the business that you're operating in. A lot of people just doing a business, but we're not really understanding what the supply chain is. And it's very important. I see a lot of people who go down the market, for instance, they stop at the wholesaler, but did they know they could go, say, to a manufacturer and source the products at a lower cost? So it's understanding that. and getting that dynamics right. Now, obviously it's in time and space as well, and it may not be something that you as an individual may want to do. But it's good to know, because if the business does need to upscale, or the business outgrows you as an individual and you need to scale the business, then you really should have that information to hand. So you're not having to run around and put out needless time and expense by trying to find out and identify what's going on within that supply chain. So understand the business that you're in, what's happening at the back end, what's happening at the front end of the business, and where you sit in the middle of that. Wherever you are in that chain, because the supply chain can go right down to the, for instance, if you were doing, like I said, clothing, it can go right down to the agricultural side. Even prior to textile, you've got yarn. And prior to yarn, there's people planting the textile that grows the plants that produce the textile. Right? So it's how far do you want to go, how deep you want to go within the business. Very, very important. And for you as an individual, you need to be able to define where you want to be within that business. Okay? So, anything else?
Okay, so we
I hope
have
that answers the question.
Let me show you this one.
Right? Alex, I'm living in Spain. Oi! Right. Oh, right. You read it, did you? Well done, Alex. Good to see you, mate. All right. Lovely. I've got that. Yeah. Yeah. Hotels. Yeah. Good. I'm loving it. Good. Yeah. I'm loving it. Yeah. Don't get too political. That's right, son. We keep it underground. You know how we live. All right. I've been seeing you. I've been watching you as well. So anytime you need a bit of support out, you know where I am. Yeah. All right. That's a good business you're in there. Keep your head up. Keep your chin up and go. Now, I was playing your track earlier, mate. If you got it in the beginning, you heard it. Do that thing, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the anthem. You and Bigger, Dalton Joseph, remember? That's the anthem, mate, all right? Them drums in the back, the warrior charge. That's how we're living, all right? So you keep going, mate. Keep your chin up. Natural entrepreneur. How do I think Brexit will impact on business venture here? I'm building upon existing hotels. Right. Al, you know my view, all right? So this, all right, this Brexit thing, like you said, without getting too political, because you know I can lose it sometimes on that side. But look, selling is selling, mate. Okay? All right? If you're making sales, right, don't get wrapped up too much on the politics. All right? That's route one. All right? Business still got to run. Good, bad times, recessions, non-recessions, business has got to run. Okay? Now, to be pre-warned is to be pre-armed. Right? So you have to come within your mindset and start to really think, well, think of the worst scenario. Alright? Get the worst scenario right. Because that's the key. Plan from the worst. It's what we call risk assessment. So we look at the worst possible scenario, what we call reduction to ridiculous. Then we look at a medium scenario. All right, and then we look at a positive scenario. So you're planning with contingency. All right, now in terms of what's going on with Brexit, all right, what is, I believe is going on at the moment, all right, is people playing mind games with everybody around the table. All right, but everyone needs everybody. Now what you've got to be able to do is step back and look at the bigger picture and not be led by the propaganda. All right, now I put an article out there the other day trying to break down some points in that area. What is your business? Why are you in business? Where do you want to go with the business? That's what's more important. All right, the environment around you, of course, it's going to take some shape to it, but you're going to plan with that risk assessment involved. Now, you know you can sell. And once you can sell, you're in the game. That's the reality of it. All right? So going forwards, how are you going to focus on generating those deals? All right? Because certain other hotels, it may take an effect on, but not yours. You with me? All right? Not yours. And why it ain't going to be yours? Because you're paying attention to the detail and you're planning accordingly for what potentially could happen, what may happen, and what you know is going to happen in terms of what you're going to happen, because you still got to get deals. That's the reality of it. you still have to get deals. So the political environment, although it kind of pulls and shapes with, you know, people not doing and spending less and so on, if you're positioned well enough, then you're in the game. I mean, I watched something, I know a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, but, you know, I watched a documentary on him the other day, because put that all that aside, he's a good salesman. And he opened up an hotel in the 70s in New York when it was totally in deprivation. A high-class hotel. And everyone said he was a nutcase, but he made it work. And then on that, he went on to get the Trump Tower and so on and whatever. And he was one of the main instigators behind the development of New York. So what I'm saying, if you've got a vision and you've got focus within that vision, then make it happen. All right? Because that's the reality of it. All right? So don't worry about all these politics and isms and schisms. Don't worry about all that. You can sell. And once you believe, it will happen. All right? So don't take all that on. And off the record, you know, touch base with me, because I'll go into it in more detail for you, because I can spend a good while on that. All right? And I'm conscious that I've got to answer some other questions as well. But just so really focus on that. Focus on what they say USP and all that kind of, put that to one side. What you really got to focus on is your selling ability and how you're going to bring that to market. All right? And what you've got there and how you're going to open up the game in the worst possible scenario. You know, I always tell you, reduction to the ridiculous. All right? The worst possible scenario. Plan for the worst at all cost. And then you'll start to relate from there. All right? Because there's going to be a wash and a bash. That's standard. All right? You know, the people that on the grafting level at the grassroots, they always feel it. That's standard. All right? But where we're at now is you're going to be a step ahead of the rest, because you're going to be paying attention, you're going to be focused in detail, and you're going to raise your game, should you need be, which you should be doing anyway, to make sure it don't happen to you. You with me? Because remember, in recessions or hard times, it's the real entrepreneurs that come through. Remember that. That's statistically proven. That's foundation. Factual. And you're going to be one of those. You're not going to be a statistic, mate. We'll make sure of that, all right? Just get me off the record. Contingency plan. Love it. Yeah, okay. Fantastic. Cheryl, hello. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. And it's contingency plan. Yes, contingency 1, 2 and 3. Absolutely. All right? You've got to have that. Yeah? Worst possible scenario, the middle, and the core scenario going forwards. All right? But don't forget, reduction to the ridiculous. The most ridiculous, most difficult thing you could plan for. All right? And start coming at it from there. Oh, thanks, mate. Love ya. Yeah, mate. And listen up, because your track's our anthem. All right? So keep it going, mate. Yeah? And just touch me, mate, because, you know, we're going to make it happen for you. Winners never lose, mate. Remember that. Yeah, we don't know how to lose. The warrior's in the game. All right, what's going on there?
I think so,
yeah.
Okay, I mean, the next question is how to measure the right things.
Right, monitor and measuring. Interesting. Okay, right. Well, if it's not getting measured, it's not getting done. That's route 1. All right? So, if you're doing something, yeah, in simplistic terms, right, because we don't want to overcomplicate it, because too much analysis can produce paralysis, right? So, if you're doing something, you've got to track and monitor what you're doing. That's route 1. Understand what you're doing, how you're doing it. For instance, let's say, for example, you're making phone calls. How many phone calls are you making a day? Okay? And all you've got to do is the old-fashioned way, we used to do it. I mean, you've got all sophisticated ways today. But the old-fashioned way is you have a pad and you just notch one, you know, the 5-4 line and the line across type thing. And at the end of it, you calculate your calls, you calculate the prospects of the potential leads you may have got, and then you work it out. So, for instance, if it was 10 calls that you've made, and you've got 2 potential prospects, that's 1 in 5. Okay? And out of that, say you went and saw those 2 individuals, and 1 ended up in a sale, that would be 1 in 10. So, monitoring and measuring, is in its most simplistic terms, is rooted in that foundation. There's so many different ways you can do it. All right? Because not only have you got the quantitative, which is the numerical aspect of it, you've got the qualitative side, qualitative side as well. which is the non-numerical side, which generally comes down to emotion, emotives and so on, why people do what they do, the cognitive behaviour, the cognitive processes. Right? So it's not numerical, you can't crunch it in numbers. It's generally done for observation or speaking to people in focus groups and so on. So, recording stopped, it says there. Alright, so be careful of that. Alright? So, someone's on the button here, right? So, what I'm saying, when you're monitoring and measuring, alright, it's looking at your client base and tracking what you're doing with them. And it may be key things. So what is it that you really want to do? Do you want to impress them? In, let's say, you want to raise the customer satisfaction. All right, if you want to raise the customer satisfaction, what are the key ingredients and components that you would do to raise your customer satisfaction? So, would it be when they walk in, for example, soft music? Supermarkets do it all the time, right? You walk around to the supermarket and they use a lot of atmospherics. So when you walk in, one of the first things you'll smell in a supermarket is bread. All right? They don't do that for fun. Yeah? They position the aisles in a certain way. They light the supermarket in a certain way. So you're in a certain mood. All right? So as you're going round, you're feeling it. Some play light music in the background. All right? And there's a reason why they do this. It's called atmospherics, and it's to get that motion and time. But at the same time, they're monitoring, tracking and everything. When you get to that tier, it's bip, bip, bip. And then they say, would you like a club card, right? And you'll get loyalty points and all these things. That's to track your buying habits. So how are you planning to monitor and track your client base? Right? Because that's very important, because you need to know where your client base is at. Example, how many purchases did they make last month? Okay, if they made 10 purchases and you want to increase it to 20, like I said, on the averages I told you earlier, if it's 1 in 10 and they made 10 purchases, then, you know, so for instance, that's 100 people, you need to up your game to 200. Or you need to spread some width. Without getting too much into the dynamics of that, what I'm saying is understand where you're at, know where you're coming from, know where you're at to know where you're going. That's route one. Now, that's not a forward integration. Backward integration is internally. Right? Monitoring and tracking what's going on with your staff. Most of you who are working in the environment, there's a thing called key performance indicators or key result areas. You know, why you have appraisals, right? And they will sit you down and they will talk to you and find out what they can do to get you to motivate you right, to get you feeling good. How we're gonna raise the expectations of the company. How we're gonna raise your expectations. You're valuable to the company. The key word is stakeholder in the company. Another key word at the moment is holistics. Because we want to get your emotions right so that you come into work on a 10, not a 1. You're not coming in low, you're coming in high. Or if you came in low, you're raising your expectation levels of what you want within your day-to-day working environment so that the company benefits from it even more. So all of that, they're monitoring and measuring your actions, your time and everything else. That's the whole point. Right? So that's what we call backward integration, where you're tracking and monitoring the people around you, but you yourself as an individual, the best way to monitor and track yourself is just think about what it is you want to achieve, how you're going to go about getting there, and then think of the key points. Just write down, what is it? What are the key points? So if I'm selling, right? How many sales I've made, how many calls I've made, how many customers I've seen. If it's in customer service, how many complaints have I had? What are the feedbacks from those clients? Have they been positive? Have they been negative? And these are the key areas that we're talking about. Okay? Now I can go on and on with this, like many of the questions, but I'm going to try and simplify it because I don't want to overextend, because I understand there's a few questions, they're waving at me now to get it right for me. All right, because I think I'm going a bit over there. All right, yeah, that's a bit too wide, that picture over there, by the way. I'd like it to come in a bit. Yeah. All right, yeah. All right, come on, just fire up. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean the next question, we have quite a lot, so I mean. You
have, all right, yeah. Well, how comes the phone ain't ringing? You got it switched off or something? There's too many questions coming in.
Well, we have too many already.
Oh, so well, fair enough. All right, no, that's all right. No worries then. You get on with it.
We'll get overloaded.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean the next question is, do I have the right people?
Right people for what? What kind of question is that?
Well, as an employer, I mean, like, do I have the right people?
Oh, is that what I mean? Well, say it as it is, mate. Tell it as it is. All right. Yeah. Don't worry, mate. Is that I've got lovely people around me, right? But sometimes they take the shortest route, you know, young people. So you've got to get them to extend, but you've got to love them, right? Because without them, you've got no pension. All right. So do you have the right people in your company? That's interesting because I'm known for getting rid of people fast. Sometimes I get rid of so many people, I get rid of myself. Yeah, you look around, you know, temperament. Yeah, that's something I've had to learn to manage over the years. So, do you have the right people? Well, the first thing I would do within a company is I would look and think about the job specification and the personal specification. All right, and this is why they do it. Why do they have a personal specification and a job specification? And the reason why they have a personal specification and a job specification within an organisation is the characteristics. They want to know the character of that individual that they're going to bring into the organisation. Now, how do they do that? Well, they've got to base it on something. So I would say, do you understand your own characteristic? Do you understand yourself? Because if you understand yourself, you are the pinnacle of the company. So understand your own characteristics and then think about the type of people that you could work with. Who fits your characteristics? Because if you don't fit the characteristics, believe you me, you're going to clash. Now, I'm a strong believer that there's no emotions in business. All right, you put that out the window. But not everybody's like that. And especially when you're starting out, you know, you've got to really come to understand yourself. Because the buck stops with you. The director's always the last one to get paid. Always the last one to get paid. And it's all right when you can wash people and bash people, but when you sit down at home at the end of the night and you're reflecting on what's gone on within the day and so on, you come to realise you might have should have done things a bit differently. So you get wiser over the years. So in sense of having the right people, what is your organisation? What are you about? And then what's the mission of your organisation? What's the value of your organisation? Because that should determine the type of people that you want. And the type of people and the characteristics that you want within that organisation. Because once you can understand where you're at in terms of the values and the mission and where you want the organisation to go, that kind of defines the characteristics of the type of people that you want to work within your organisation. So, do you have the right people? The question I would ask is, going back one, are you the right person for your organisation? That's a tough question, because we're all going to say yes. Alright, but be honest with yourself. When you look in the mirror, are you the right person for your organisation? That's what you ask yourself. And if that's what you believe, then roll it out. Okay? And if it's not, it doesn't mean you can't run the business, but potentially you maybe should get somebody who fits the characteristics of your organisation. Because it's your company, it doesn't mean that you're going to be the right person for that organisation. Alright, so the greater wisdom says, step back, become more of a business owner than being up front all the time. Standard. Alright, simple as that. And I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so following to that same question, should I delegate responsibility?
Delegation. Well, that's an interesting one. Alright, well, delegation, yeah, but the question is, do you know how to delegate? Alright? Because delegation is a thing where I can pass the buck. I can say, do this, do that. But if I don't understand how to do it myself, what am I actually doing? Where am I at? Alright? So, it's clear that when you delegate, there's a process. It's easy to say someone will get on with it. But then, how would you know if they're doing it properly? That's the key. Alright, because someone can look busy, and believe you me, I've seen it so many times. People look very busy, especially when you walk in the door. Alright, the governor's here, look, and they get busy. Alright, when you're gone, it's like, without using foul language, but you understand my point. Alright, and everyone's back on the status quo, and everyone's back on calm and easy again. And when you come in, bang, but you can't be there 24/7, right? So, in terms of delegation, really, what I would say is, people should have ownership of their own job task. Right? Get people to take ownership of their own tasks. In a modern day age, you shouldn't have to be telling people do this, do that, or people should not be under supervision. If they're having to be under supervision, potentially they're probably not the right person for you, especially in a small business. Because if you've got to be under supervision, it means you can't do what you need to do. You cannot manage what you need to manage, because you may have to be out there doing things as well, and that's restricting you. So you really want people that are a bit more empowered, self-motivated, that can go forwards, because delegation kind of comes back from autocratic type management. All right, but in the simplistic terms of modern day management, you can give someone a set of tasks and allow them to get on with it and say, well, this is your KPI, this is where we're at. We'll sit down somewhere in the week, we'll have a one-to-one, we'll catch up, see where you're at with it, and so on. And then you'll find that's how a lot of what we call matrix organisations run today. They're not, the boss man is not on top of them. A lot of the big companies out there today, like your Microsofts and your Amazons and so on, they don't need to be on top of their staff all the time. And the reason why they don't need to be on top of their staff all the time, because they're clear about what their values are, they're clear about what their mission is, their vision, and they get people to buy into that. So they're motivated to work towards that, to grow that organisation. And that's why they've grown from very small organisations to very large organisations. So what I would say to you, in terms of delegation, yes, you can tell people how to do things and so on, but what's your business model? Have a business model. All right, the system and process within your company. Because when you're delegating, remember, it's going down a chain of command. So you've got an organisational structure, but you've also got a system and process within that company. What is the system and process? Because if you're not clear in the system and process and you're just telling people to do things, they're going to be spinning on a sixpence. That's the reality of it. So they need to be able to see what the process flow chart is within that company. So a key thing you could do is to just do like a graph, right, and show them the system and process within that company. An organisational management structure. Show them where they sit within the company and where you sit within the company, or where people supervising them or managing them sit within the company. So they're clear when they do that. And when they come in, give them a little handbook. It could be 2 pages. Right? Give them an induction. Give them a little handbook that tells them this is where you are in the organisation. This is what we expect from you. Because when they start, they'll sign an agreement. Never employ anybody without signing an agreement. So when you're delegating tasks to them, they're very clear what's in their job description. They would know what their personal specifications are, i.e. the characteristics. So when you're delegating, what you're saying, I expect from you what I employed you to do. No more, but that is what I employed you to do. And that is what I expect from you. And if you're not able to do that, as we say, ship up, shape up, or ship out. Standard. Because if you're not able to do that, then why are you there? Why are we having this communication going on between us that's going nowhere? Because when I employed you to do a specific task. So when you actually say, well, can you get on with doing this, or I expect you to get to this level. Yesterday you was at a 5. How can I help you to get to a 6 today? All right? Not get on with it, you've got to get it right and so on, because that is very autocratic. And in today's environment, that could be seen as bullying. Okay? So if you're delegating, think about your style of management. It always starts with yourself, self-reflection. It always starts with yourself. When you're looking at, seeing yourself, try and see yourself from the outside as others would see you from the outside looking in. All right? And give that reflection. When you're in front of the mirror, delegate to yourself in front of the mirror. Look at your body language. Look at your characteristics and do it in an angry mode. Do it in a medium mode and do it in a calm mode. And see which one suits you best. I assure you the calm mode is always the one that's human beings by nature are going to get across. I'm known to be quite a temperamental character, believe you me, over the years. I've learnt the hard way. In and out of business. But the reality of it is, when you really want to get through to people, the key way to get through to them really is to communicate on their level. And a sense of calmness at times generally works, but make sure they earn it. If they're taking advantage and they're taking the pee out of you, you're not going to stand up there and take it either. So you've got to be able to step up. And that's when the autocratic can come in. So you mix it up. Alright? So delegation, going back to the point, is about what is it you want that person to achieve, why you want them to achieve it, how long do you want them to achieve it by? And even though they have to, I believe in ADP, actions, deeds and performance. They've carried out the action, they've accomplished the deed, how well have they performed? Because they've done it doesn't mean that it's correct. All right, and this is where delegation kind of links up with monitoring and measuring as well, because you're looking at the performance. Because they've done it, you might have been able to perform better. How do you get them to perform better? There's no sense just telling me you can perform better after you've delegated it. So let's get to a level of what we call common sense. All right, not nonsense, because you've got to get sense out of the nonsense to get to the common sense. So, reciprocal behaviour. What can you do for them that they can get them up to a level where they're empowered to do for themselves? Then you'll find you'll be doing a lot less delegating. Because the key word delegation, you really got to understand it carries authority. And within authority, people tend to react to authority with a barrier. It's not the old days where you bow down and succumb to authority and you're submissive to authority. It's different. There's a lot of wannabe rebels out there today. People are being rebels. They don't even know why they want to be a rebel. There's no justification to be a rebel. But they want to be a rebel. Or they just want to resist the fact that you're authoritative and I'm not taking it. I'm not having it. You could be giving them the best thing for them to get through, the best thing for them to get forward. But they won't see it. So you need to be able to see, how do I reach out to that person? That makes you the greater human being and the better person to be able to deal with that person on that level. And once you can get through to that person, it's a challenge to you as well, especially if you're getting barriers. But like I said, don't let them take advantage. Have a limit. Know where it's at. And know when to shut them down and boot them out if necessary. Within the law. Because you'd be up for a tribunal. You don't want to do that. I've had enough of them. Saying that, I never lost one yet. Right? And I don't plan on losing one. Because at the end of it, I'm a strong believer saying, you don't sack people, people sack themselves. Yeah? You give me enough time, enough space. You give me enough support. And they'll rise to it. Or they'll fall by the wayside. It's as simple as that. I hope that answers the question without getting too over passionate about it,
Alright, we have 3 more questions.
Yeah.
25 minutes to go.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind. And thanks for letting me know the time. What you're saying to me is, don't go on and on. I get it.
So
I can still hear that track in my head. Feels so good. Can you feel it? That's the anthem, man. I'm feeling that. Yeah.
Alright, so a bit on another note, marketing-wise, how would you recommend I promote my business?
Promotion. Well, there's a model that people use out there. It's called awareness, interest, desire, and action. I'm sure a lot of you in marketing would know it. Well, what's the budget, really? I'm going to, like I said, it's generic. Sometimes these questions are a bit generic, so I'm going to have to keep it generic. But, I like to get down to nitty-gritty sometimes. So it'd be nice to collar that person and say, well, what sort of company you got? What's your budget? But I'm going to work from the minimum. Like, you haven't really got a budget. All right? Now, I'm a strong believer. There's a big term out there now called bootstrapping, where you make a business work with as least finance as possible. And I'm a lover of bootstrapping. I think I've been doing it all my life, to be honest with you. But we don't see it as bootstrapping, we see it as guerrilla marketing. And you think of guerrilla warfare, you don't have loads and loads and loads of soldiers, do you? You have a minimal amount of soldiers. All right? And they're going in there and they're synchronized and they're keeping it tight. And they're going in there to ruffle up and disrupt all the behind the enemy lines. Well, your objective in terms of promotion is how can you be a disruptor? That's another big fashionable word today. Disruptive organisation. How can you disrupt so that you can position yourself to be out there? Now, going out and telling everyone about it, believe you me, if you're going to broadcast it and bang it out on social media and bang out all your ideas out there, expect someone to take it. Right? It's standard. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't use social media. Social media is there. I'm sitting on social media now. But what I'm saying to you, if you're going to communicate something, understand the levels of communication. Right? You're promoting something, you're putting it out to a market. Right? So if someone comes along and takes it, I personally think that's great. Let's see what they do with it. But if you haven't got a budget and someone comes along who's got a budget and they take it and they run with it and it's your idea, as happened to me many times, but as I've learned over the years, you've got to understand where you're at. Alright, so you've got to work within your means. Alright, now, it's easy to say, yeah, I want to do this, I want to be this large organisation and so on. Now, that's part of your planning. That's step by step. That's understandable. But work within your means. What are you capable of doing? Now, I'm a strong believer in the most old-fashioned, and it's still the number one today. No matter what they tell you, don't worry about it. Believe you me, it's still the number one. And social media is kind of a vehicle for that. Word of mouth. Right? And it's going back to your customers again. Getting your customers right. Because if you keep your customers happy, people talk. Right? And they'll talk positively about you. Just as much as they'll talk negatively. And remember, one negative comment can destroy 10 good comments. So you've got to balance it right. Now, you're always going to get things wrong. But the things you get wrong, make sure you put them right for those clients so that they can go out there and say, well, they got it wrong, but they put it right for me in the end. Because they tend to be your best, loyalist clients. So when you go out promoting, you can go out directly speaking to people. You can go out to network events, exhibitions. When you go out to networks, events and exhibitions, they give you these little badges. Don't wear a little badge. Do something different. Wear bright colours. You know, have a big badge. Have a big badge around your neck. Do something different. People are going to look at you. You know, and another thing is as well, when people ask you, what do you do? You know, a lot of people say, what do you do when they come up to me? I don't say to them, I'm a salesperson. Well, I say I get people who want results. Standard. All right, so sound a bit different. Yeah, take a different spin on what you're doing. Because that way, you're going to give yourself some edge. Right, it's gone again, camera. All right, you're going to give yourself some edge. And if you're going to give yourself some edge, all right, people are going to see you as advantageous. What I mean is you're gaining advantage over your competitors. Which is where you want to be, right? Because there's a lot of competition out there, especially at the grassroots. There's 5.5 million small businesses in the UK, and 4.4 million of them are micro businesses, which means small businesses. And you're fighting, you're competing amongst them. So you really have to have full metal jacket. You've got to be prepared for that. So going out and promotion, try and promote in the most cost-effective way that's going to generate your sales. Even if it means knocking on people's doors, going on high streets with a clipboard. Cost-effective. Because cost-effective means when you get a sale, profit. You go and spend 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand in advertising, you've got to make that money back. Now, getting that money back is deficit. Alright? And before profit, if you're spending, is deficit, right? Whereas if you've managed to generate income through the most cost-effective way, everything that's coming in is profit. I've seen people turning over crazy money, but they're also spending crazy money to generate that profit. And when you look at their balance sheet, you'll be shocked. If you doubt me, go and look at most of the major supermarket chains today. Go and look at most of the major companies today and see how strapped up they are with loans. That's why they're all shutting down. Because they're not bootstrapping. Alright? It's loan after loan after loan. Leverage after leverage after leverage. Alright? What I'm saying to you as a small business, do not take those risks. Have a plan. Have a vision. 10, 15, 20 years ahead. Alright? Know what time you're in. Know what zone you're in. And move within your means. Work within the means that you're in. I'm not saying you can't spend good money on advertising, but when you've got it, it's the key. Balance it, get it right, and then go after it. So promotion, and a lot of people get it twisted, not necessarily advertising. Promotion is when you're going out and putting the word out there. PR is a good way of doing it. If you feel you can get on the local radio, you go to an exhibition, promote yourself. You know, big up yourself, as they say. But like I said, your customers are the key ones. You saying it is one thing. Getting your customers to say it is another thing. So think about what type of referrals you can get. Are you giving your customers a commission for bringing in business? Everybody likes a pound note today. Are you giving them a commission for doing it? Because if you are, they're likely to bring in business. And if they're doing it without the commission, better still, it means you're giving a wonderful service. Great. But also, you can also give them an incentive. Incentives seldom fail. Yeah? Go out. Think about agents. Right? Have you got the type of business model that can incorporate agents that they may not have anything to do with the business, they may not be able to do your business, but at the end of it, they can bring you business. That's what football clubs do, and look at them. Let's not forget Division 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we've got the Premiership. It's a completely different world today. Alright? And the reality of that is why? Because of agents. Right, upselling footballer. Same football. They still got a ball, they still run round. They still put on football boots. Still jump in the bath together for whatever reasons. Alright? But the bottom line is, it's all the same football clubs, but the whole game's changed. Because agents have gone out there and upsold the talent. Right, and they said, no, we're not having that benchmark anymore, we're taking it to that benchmark. I can remember growing up when Trevor Francis was the first £1 million player, and Brian Clough told him that he bought Trevor Francis. Everyone said he was a nutcase. Now look at it. That's promotion for you. Alright, so understand where it's at. If you're going to go out and promote, guerrilla marketing. Check it out. I can't go into the depths of it. I do a lot of things around it, and it's a specialist area. And maybe one day I'll do a special, if I see the need for it, I'll do a specialist talk on it. I mean, it's something that I'm passionate about. But you've got to go out there and you just got to go full metal jacket, get behind those enemy lines and start working it. And when I say enemy, I'm talking about the bigger corporations, right? Because they're the ones you're going after, right? You want to chop. Bob Marley said, small axe chop big trees. And the big trees are falling down regularly now. So you really got to understand the market is yours. The game is on. Right? The game's opening up. Brexit, all these things come. The game's opening up for you. These budding entrepreneurs coming through. If you doubt me, look at all these gazelle companies coming from the tech industry. Right? And a lot of that's being done through venture capital and all these kind of things. But hey, you've got grassroots entrepreneurship. Huh? Never fails you. So understand where it's at. I hope that answers the question.
Hope that answers the question as well. It's quite in depth. So.
But you're saying I'm going too in depth now?
No.
I didn't think that was in depth. I thought that was on the surface personally, but that's all right. No problem.
All right. I mean, connecting to the previous question once again. So, how do I get the right customers? Like, how do I know I have the right customer?
How do you know you have the right customers? That's a good question. Are they buying? Right? If they're not buying, then they're not the right customer. No, I'm joking. You see, what it is, you may, how do you know, first of all, like I was going back to earlier what we said, how do you know you're the right person for the business? If you are, there's got to be a fit, right, between you and the client. Think of relationships. You know, I've said it before, if you're going to, court a lady, how do you know that she's the right person for you? Now, in the beginning, you may be rejected, but you don't give up, do you? You carry on, and then you could end up 20, 30 years married. Or you could, go away, come back, and, have the love of a lifetime. So what I'm saying is relationships are built on the most funniest things. We're human beings. Right? We're unfathomable. All right? We're dealing with emotions. All right? So tapping in to those individuals to extract what is going in their minds. You cannot possibly think for them. Right? That's an impossibility. So the only way to do it is to ask questions, pertinent questions that relate towards what you need to know. That's how you know if you've got the right customer. Then you'll see what it takes. Sometimes it can be a trigger. They might not be buying, and all of a sudden, you do the right thing, you say the right thing, and bang! It explodes. All right, take for instance, I'm a bit, maybe I'll give away my age now. There's a Joey Ratners, right? What's he said? I'll sell crap on TV. Overnight, he went out of business. All right, what the wrong thing to say? All right, do you understand? Because no one wants to know that they're buying crap jewellery, right? It's standard, right? But that's what Ratners did. And he was gone overnight. So what I'm saying here, did he know he didn't have the right customers? They were all right up to a point, weren't they? So the point I'm making is it's the value, isn't it? All right? And the way customers value you and the way you value the customer and the basis of that relationship. So always be on your Medi. Always have your antenna up. Always be seeking to tune in. As a business person, you're always seeking to want that business to grow. So you're always seeking for it to be right. So is there ever a right customer? But you've got to make yourself fit that specific customer. If you're talking about specific target markets and niche and so on, finding your specific target market, that's a bit different. But the way that I go about doing it is to go out and educate people. I don't do it the conventional way, which is target, information, or inform, market and educate, which is how conventional marketing works. because they don't have the budget for that. Well, that's a lot of money, because you're going to throw money out in market research, and you're going to throw money out in advertising, all these things to attract that target market. That's a lot of money. So you go out and reach out to people and you educate people. Then you look at your track record over a period of time, how many sales you've made. Then you can tap into those people, because you've got the database, and run that database to see what the demographics is, i.e. age, gender, geographic area, where they live in. If you want to go down to that, the ethnicity, the diversity of your clientele. All right, but make the sales first. Like, if you're not making sales, I can sit there all day having a flat. Well, this customer, that customer. Oh, these are the socioeconomic group A, B, C, chattering classes, bohemian groups, this and all that arty-farty crap. Don't mean jack if you ain't getting the deal, mate. So go out and get deals. Go out and make sales. And when you make sales, then you can track the people that have purchased your product, and that will define who your customers are, because you'll find a variety in there. But the ones who've bought the characteristics, or what we call psychographic profiling, right? The psychology of the person, the characteristics of the person who purchased your product. You don't have to get as in depth as that, but the point I'm making is you can get an idea of the profile of the individuals who are buying more. Is it young people, middle-aged people, older people, what their income streams are, so on, just by building up a database. Key. Capture information. Capture your target audience in terms of what they're about, what their names are, what their gender is, what their income levels are. All right, the areas that they live in, which is not difficult through postcodes. What jobs they do kind of tells you that in terms of income. You don't have to say how much do you earn. It's a bit brash, isn't it? But the job that they do and the level of job they do kind of gives you an indication of what they earn. All right, so this is the way of doing it. And once you can start gathering that type of information, become an information gatherer, all right, you start to define. So you educate, you work to that market. Now, once you know who your market is, you can inform that market more, so they become what we call repeat customers. They come again. And that kind of defines your target market. So you're remitting yourself. Right? You're going against the grain. But that's the way to go forwards. So that is how you work out, the right customers. I know you go in and people will beat me down. Oh, you got to go, you got to prospect, you got to do this, you got to do that. Yeah. Let's put it down to the nitty gritty. Where's the deal? Okay? Because that's the bottom line. No customers, no business. Standard. That's the reality. Right. Is that done?
Okay, I mean, we still have 8 more minutes.
Well, just do what we're doing in a minute. You can tell me the minutes. Force from Dort Technique, this young man. He's something else there. Love him, but 8 minutes. Like, I'm going to work out in 8 minutes. If I don't get the last question, I'll put it on the next one. I'm answering questions, right?
Yeah.
Well then, that's what it is. Well, standard.
Let's do at least one more.
Well, yeah, all right, mate. One more. That's why I'm here, right? What am I doing here?
Okay.
Not here for fun, am I?
Well, I don't know. Maybe for fun as well. I don't know.
Yeah, really. Well, I'm having a bit of fun.
Alright, so the next question is, am I outsourcing the right tasks?
Interesting. Outsourcing. I bet he's a call centre person. I'll let you 10 to 1 is a call centre person. Alright? Call centre people. That's what they're about. Alright? A lot of outsourcing now within call centre. It'd be interesting to see what those call centres are, but I'm going to take it in the context of call centre. And a lot of call centres now are outsourcing to places like India, alright, and South Africa and all these places, And what's happening is you talk to these people on the phone and you can't understand half the word they're saying. Now, you've got a problem with the work going out there and all that, But I think they should be trained properly up to a standard. Because they speak to such a speed, you've got to say, excuse me, pardon me, what do you say, And a lot of these companies are doing it just to cut costs. They're not really thinking about the effect it's having on the client base, And it's going back to that question before as well. That's how you can lose business. Right? Now, I'm all for global and opening up worlds to developing economies and all that and so on, but have a standard and level of service. So if you're outsourcing, right, what is your standard? Right? And ensure that wherever you're outsourcing to, that they validate your standard. Because if they're not validating your standard, what's happening is you're getting a bad reputation. And if you're getting a bad reputation, your company ain't going nowhere, right? You're struggling. Now, you won't see it till the last. When you look at that balance sheet at the end of the year, and it's like, oh my good God. All right? What happened there? So we really need to understand when we're outsourcing how we go about doing it. So things like having good training systems in place, having standards in place, like things like ISO, you know, quality standards, right, that the companies can work to. Make sure that they're not using labour and exploiting labour, because that's what a lot of them do these days. They exploit the labour, and we really don't want that, all right, because it's not ethical. You want it to be done right, and make sure they're getting paid a fair wage, all right? Make sure, and when I say fair wage, make sure that they can generate an income that accelerates their income, that they can live well. So do your own work on what the average wage is in that country, or even if it's whether it's the UK, but make sure that people are not being exploited. Because outsourcing means you've got a middleman, and what the middleman generally does is take the bulk of the pie and he gives the grains to the workers. That ain't good for you. That's not what you want it to be. It could be production. I've done it in production from Morocco to Tunisia, Egypt, all over those places, right? In production with clothing and so on. And, you know, you'll go into these factories and you'll see people working, and it'll all look all, you know, hunky-dory and that. And then, you know, you catch them off guard when you go out for a plant visit and they're screaming and shouting at them. You don't have to understand what they're saying, but you can see by the body language it's not nice. Right? So, you know, make sure that people are not being exploited in what you're doing when you're outsourcing. Outsourcing can be a good thing, but it comes with a lot of other additional issues. So be clear what you're about. Yes, you can save a lot of money. Don't just do it for the sake of saving money. If you're going to do it for the benefit of sort of helping human beings to get better lives. And if you're doing that, the value of that means your company will grow. See, people don't understand having a good corporate, social, responsible policy, right, and ensuring that works actually helps your country to grow. Right? It helps you to grow. It helps your business to grow. Because what that does, it reinforces. Right? And a lot of people out there are not doing that today. Everyone just wants to go on bad, chasing money and all these kind of things. That's not it. Right? Better the human being. Be the greater human being. Make it work. Do good. Because if you're doing good, we always say we grow up, good will come to you. And no matter how rough it gets and how tough it gets, and believe you me, I'm going through it now myself in some ways, where we're going offshore and we're battling. Alright? And I've been whacked and kicked and all sorts within inside what I call infiltration. Alright? But the bottom line of it is, I'm still here. And that's the same way you will be. Because for the greater good. And if you're doing for the greater good, it must get better. Understand that. Alright? Don't sell out for a pound note. Don't sell your soul, because that's not it. All right, stand up and be strong. Think about it, and always be the one to accept that you got it wrong. All right, and then you can come good again. All right, so in terms of outsourcing, very tricky area, but make sure you got policies in place. They got a new one now, Anti-Slavery Act and so on. Make sure you're up to date with these policies. Prevention's another one, with the Islamophobia stuff. You know. So understand where it's at and get it right. And if you got it right, you're on the move. Alright? And there's no better place than the UK because British standards stand up. Alright? So keep that going. I'm trying to keep that short and hopefully it's not over because it's time I've got 8 minutes. So I might have time for one more question.
We have like 2 minutes right now.
Well, 2 minutes. Give me another question. What's wrong with you? Did I ask you if it was 2 minutes? I just said give me another question. Wait, so I'm not allowed to go a bit over time then, am I? I thought it was my show.
Well, it is. I mean,
yeah, with my show I can go over then, right?
Sure.
Well, then get the question now, please. Because it's taking 2 minutes to get the question out.
Alright, so the next question. How do I clearly communicate my value proposition?
Right, value proposition, mate. Well, it's strange, mate. Whoa, that value proposition thing, I tell you. Someone's been reading books. Right, because the value proposition is really now, it's surpassing time now. Alright? Because it's perception, isn't it? And perception of value. What is your perception of value? Do you perceive value to be a certain Wait, what basis of what is the basis of value? Okay, keep it like this. I'm going to use a bit of theory here because it makes it. Motivation times expectancy equals value. So what motivates the expectancy? What is it the person's expecting? Okay? Because whatever the person's expecting is what's motivating them. Okay? Now, if they're motivated to purchase, example, like a woman, she goes out and buys a pair of shoes, right? She's motivated to buy those pair of shoes. She gets them, she puts them on, and next week she chucks them in the wardrobe and says, oh, I'm fed up with them, I can't bother. I want another pair of shoes. Alright? And we know a woman with shoes, right? We love them, but we know when it comes to a woman with shoes, do not argue. Do not get into that zone, because you are going to get clobbered and probably get a stiletto in your head. Alright? That's the reality of it. Right? But what we're saying here is what motivated them to buy it was the expectancy. You see? They wanted it. Because it made them look good. They felt good at the time. They felt good. It could have been the shop assistant. It could have been the way they were displayed in the window. It could have been the way that they fit their shoes at the time and the drive and everything else. But then what we call dissonance kicked in. We got it. When we got something now, did we really want it? How much did we really value it? We all do it. Men do it as well. Right? You get a nice shirt. You go out. You're a clubber. You're a bobber. You're moving. You're grooving. You feel good. Yeah, and all of a sudden you wore it a couple of times, like it's getting weary. The thread's getting a bit weary on that. Well, I've got to change it up a bit, you know? Right? So what I'm saying, that's what we call dissonance, buyer's dissonance. Where things wear off, human nature, our cognitive, our thinking, right? The emotions that drive us for these things. So value is down to perception. Alright? Now if you're selling, and you're selling in an effective way, you'll tap into that client's mind and get his underpinning reasons of what underpin that person's value. Then you're able to meet that person's need, sustain that person's values. And this is what old school tailors do, like Savile Row. Alright? They put it on them, they tailor, you know, they put the tape measure on, they know what they're selling them before they walk in. But at the same time, they make them feel good. They make them feel like they're special. And then they charge 10 times the price. Why? Alright, so price isn't a factor, is it? If that person values that service. So what I would say to you is get your service right. Yeah, understand your service. And then one with the service, thereafter you'll find people will perceive your value. They will see more value because they're treated, this is stopped again. They're treated, they feel special. And there's nothing wrong with making people feel like special human beings. Because we are special, aren't we? Huh? You're special, I'm special, everybody's special. Isn't that what it's about? So go out there and make people feel special. And then you'll be special, right? It's called reciprocal behaviour. And on that note, we'll tie it up. But I want subscribers on the YouTube. Alright, because we're getting hits out there. We're getting a lot of views, but we ain't getting subscribers. So sign up. Alright? Don't stick up. Sign up. Get on the YouTube, sign up. Because we're going to be putting out lots of material for you. And not everything's coming out on the podcast. We want loyalists. We want soldiers. We're building up, you know. And we're going to be going forwards. And we want to be building a military of entrepreneurs. That's the objective. All right? So I'm going to love you and leave you. And for those of you who think I'm a bit too strong, well, so be it. I won't see you next time. For those of you who are with me, then let's roll on and let's make it happen. Love you and leave you. All the best. Be lucky. Oh, is that what you told me over there? That's all right. Are we off there?